What's up, everybody? It's Mike and Big Jack back with another Bears review, preview, State of the Union video heading into week 11, going to play the Detroit Lions. It's a home game, correct, Jack?
No, it's
It's
at
at
Detroit.
Detroit. Okay. Going to play at Detroit. Bears are currently 7.5 point dogs, despite opening, I think, closer to 10 points. Um, it looks like Justin Fields is going to be the starter for this game. Um, Quick recap on last week. Bears play the Panthers at home. So last week is at home. They win 16-13. Tyson Bagent plays quarterback. Pretty ugly game, but in theory, other than the punt return that was allowed by the Bears early in the game, defense looks pretty good. Team overall looks like a better team than the Panthers. I don't know how much that's really saying. The Panthers look like they're in a tough spot right now. Um, Good to get a win. Big Jack, thoughts on last week? Some of your thoughts heading into this week?
Like you said, good to get a win. That's where I start. It wasn't pretty, but they got it done with their backup quarterback. Going against the number one draft pick that we sort of looked like potentially, it's early on, tough to judge rookies. You don't want to be, there's a lot of the league has been littered throughout history with rookie quarterbacks who sucked that turned into Hall of Famers. So I won't write off Bryce Young quite yet, but it was a great win. And just the double decker of the fact that the Bears win and the Panthers lose, keeping that Panthers draft pick that the Bears own that much further down the pile towards number one. I think I heard after last week with that Cardinals win, I think now the Panthers are, I think they're up over 50% to end up with a number one overall
Yeah,
pick.
it's right around 50, somewhere right around 50.
Yeah, so that was huge just in that sense. And yeah, defense looked great, like you said. You know, it's not like the Panthers have been world beaters against a lot of their opponents, but they're still an NFL team. You still got to go out there and get it done. I was very pleased to see what Montez Sweat did on a short week. In his only, I mean, I think he probably got to Chicago on like Wednesday or Thursday of the 2 weeks prior. So
Right.
he's probably been around for 10 days or whatever, and he goes out and gets 7 or 8 pressures. Looks like he's on his way to being quite a difference maker and hopefully a impactful leader type personality for that group in general that's just been so abysmal for the last 2 years because that's something we really need to drastically change and it looks like we might have found something pretty solid there, so I'm very excited about that. um, this week, you touched on it. Sounds like Fields is going to start, which I'm also excited about that. Bajent, great story, undrafted. Is a Division III guy. It's I like seeing those guys from the smaller schools have a little bit of success, make some real headway out there. So I mean, it's awesome for him, but yeah, I don't think he's just doesn't have. We talked about it last week, just not the arm talent. To be a long-term solution. I don't think anyone very serious ever thought of him that way. It's typical banter and sports, talk fodder that they always turn into these kind of little mini controversies. But I think, you know, no one's going to look themselves in the mirror and not be more excited to see Justin Fields back on the field to see what he has going forward the rest of the season. Got 7 more games to make a decision. Some people probably would argue that those guys probably already have a decision made, but I don't know if that's true, man. He's been so up and down. It's an interesting situation where I think he's tough to judge. He really is because you see it in certain areas, but then it's like he's just not getting it. It's tough, and I'm excited to see where these next 7 games go. I hope he stays healthy. We can get a true picture of what's going on because in an ideal world, you stock up as much value as you can and build the team in my eyes. But if you don't believe him, you just have to take the quarterback. That's how the league works. But yeah, but I'm very interested slash excited to see how it develops down the stretch of the season.
I agree. Real quick, before we get into this week, there's three people I want to give some love to from the Bears and their performance last week. Um, First off, Dante Foreman. He is a load carrying the football. Obviously, in a little bit of a, I don't know if you want to call it a revenge game, previous team game, whatever you want to call it. But that man, he's a good back, man. He deserves a at minimum like second fiddle role in the NFL, where he's a really nice big compliment to a good back. I wouldn't mind seeing him back here next year. He's only on a 1 year contract, but I wouldn't mind seeing him back here next year. Uh, Next up, Kyler Gordon is playing some good football. He's looking like, going into this season, I was a little worried that maybe that was a miss of a draft pick. But right now, I'm sitting here kind of confident that there's something there with that guy. He's a player. Granted, Panthers receiving core, not exactly world beaters. I don't know how much Amon Ra St. Brown lines up in the slot, but he might have his hands full this week going up against one of the best receivers in the game. I think he primarily lines up in the slot. But Kyler Gordon is jumping off the screen to me personally. And then lastly, um, you touched on Montez Sweat. He's letting some of the guys that I've given a lot of shit to over this season and last season too. He's allowing some of those guys to play a little bit better. He's multiplying their performance. I've given a lot of shit to Justin Jones, a lot of shit about Yannick Ngakwe. They both get sacks last week. Uh, it's funny when the guys next to you are playing better, it tends to help you perform as well. Also, Gervon Dexter, however you say his name, I think it's Gervon. Um, he gets close to his first sack last week. He's showing me some things too. Zach Pickens, nice play, putting the left guard of the Panthers on his ass. Montez Sweat, got to give him credit, but he's allowing some of the guys around him to do some things, and it's nice to see.
Absolutely. I think you know, everything you said was beautiful. Couldn't agree with it more for the most part. Foreman, you know, I agree, but also like just holds so true about running backs.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
just you know, just get whoever. Like, you could get it done with a lot of
I
guys.
agree.
But yeah, no, he was impressive. He has been impressive. See, hopefully Khalil's back this week. I think he's a little more explosive than those other
Absolutely.
guys. But but yeah, and then Kyler Gordon. 100%. He was awesome. I think he's looked good for the most part all year. Obviously, he was dealing with a little bit of the injury situation early on. But now that he's back and he's starting to, find his footing, he's back in the lineup a little more consistently. He looks really solid. Him and Tyreek Stevenson are a couple guys. You keep Jalen Johnson, depending what that contract situation ends up being. That's a nice trio that I feel pretty damn good about as far as the defensive backs go. Um, but yeah, no, I think I can't, like you said, you get a good guy on the defensive line with Sweat. It just makes a difference, opens things up for everybody else. They're flying around out there. You got to just keep building on that momentum, keep getting better each week. They won a tight game, and I think that's important. You got to figure out how to win, get that taste, and keep going out and staying hungry for more of it.
I agree, Big Jack. So as we shift focus to this week, like we said, going to Detroit, 7.5 point dogs at the moment. This is being filmed Thursday night. Um, the two people we just gave some credit to, Kyler Gordon and the defensive front, um, they're going to be up against some tougher tests this week. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a stud. The Detroit offensive line is one of the best in the league. Um, I'm curious to hear some of your keys to a Bears victory this week, Jack. What are your thoughts? What are your keys? Let's talk this week. Bears at Detroit.
Yeah, interesting. I feel like Detroit is probably not been one of the more hostile places to play over the course of time for the Bears. I know it's in division, but they just, I mean, neither of them have really been a very good team at many points over the course of the last 2, 3 decades. But I think it's going to be a pretty cracking environment in there this weekend. I think it's going to be something that the Bears probably aren't used to. Certainly going to be a test for them, and I'm looking forward to see how they answer the bell. I'm very excited to see how it all plays out. My first key to a victory is going to be right back into that defensive line, that defensive front, and what we've been doing against the run. If I'm not mistaken, the Bears are the number one run defense in the NFL right now. And, the Lions' offense in general has been good. Like you said, Amon-Ra St. Brown's a stud. Laporta's having a hell of a rookie year out of Iowa at tight end. They got some explosive weapons. Jameer Gibbs, obviously, you know, in my opinion, like a horrendous draft pick for where they took him, but like he's still a good player. Like, just because you don't agree with the ideology of taking him in that spot, he's pretty damn good when he gets his hands on the ball, gets into some space. But I think that the Lions are still a team that likes to sort of build everything off of the run. I'm sure it's going to be, a little bit of let's get David Montgomery the ball type of thing against the Bears. I'm sure there'll be some of that. So, they're going to be trying to feed those running backs, getting them going. Jared Goff, credit to him. He's had a little bit of a, I mean, he went to the Super Bowl with the Rams, but he's had a little bit of a career revival with Detroit when a lot of people thought he was left for dead when the Rams traded him away. So, credit to him for the way he's answered that whole situation, but I still don't think he's that great of a quarterback. Yes, indoors, at home, he's a lot better. I think as the year moves along and they get into some colder environments, I think it might be same old story with Jared Goff down the stretch of the season. That's part of the reason I don't really believe in this Lions team at all. But I do think, they like to get that run game going to get him more comfortable, get everything else going. Another part of their run game that they use is Amon-Ra St. Brown. They run a lot of those sweeps a lot more effectively than the nonsense we pull out there with Velus Jones. So you got to look for that sort of play too. Those gadget plays, they are pretty effective with them. And I think you just got to keep doing what you've been doing with the run. Stop it. Don't let them get out. Don't let them get going. And put a little bit of the onus on Jared Goff to have to, make some plays from the pocket with his arm.
I love that key, Jack. I don't know if they're the number one defense. I didn't look that up before the video, but I will say they're definitely one of like the top five for sure. Their run defense has been really good this year. Um, Real quick, Jared Goff. I do think that he's playing some really good football right now and is legitimate outside MVP candidate. Realistically, do I think he wins it? But I think he deserves some consideration with how he's playing up in Detroit. Um, uh, One other thing I want to touch on without going too into your point is Velus Jones healthy scratch last week. I do like that in the recent weeks, kind of since Claypool was benched, which I know was early on, but it seems like this coaching staff is finally like holding these players accountable and being like, I know last year was kind of tank mode, but no, you gotta get your shit together this year. The fact that Valus was a healthy scratch last week shows me a little something. I might be in the small minority that still thinks there is something there with Valus. It's not on kick returns, it's not on punt returns, but I think he could have a very low role on this team. Um, but I do like that they're trying to hold people accountable, and I personally like that Valus was a healthy scratch last week. Back to your key, Bears run defense. It's got to be a key. Like you said, Detroit. All things start with the run game. I know they drafted Jameer Gibbs high, like you talked about, but David Montgomery is their feature back. They like to play that physical brand of football, that ground and pound. I'm a big fan of what Dan Campbell's doing up there and how they play football. Obviously, Ben Johnson calls a pretty good game as well from an OC standpoint. But it seems like they like when David Montgomery's in there because he offers something that Jameer Gibbs doesn't. Let's hope our Bears run defense shows up on Sunday.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and say to your Bayless Jones point, I don't think you're in a small minority. I think you're on a deserted island. Yeah, that's a party of one, my man. But as far
Hey,
as
I'm
I'm
here,
concerned,
baby. I'm here alone.
as far as I'm concerned, the Bears might be 27-0 if they Bayless Jones is a healthy
He
scratch
is
every week
definitely
since
costing
they
them
got
some
him.
games, no doubt about it.
Um, but yeah, no, that's banter aside. Yeah, I do worry a little bit about that, kind of like you said about the Foreman revenge game since the week prior against Carolina. Like, you know, they're definitely going to try to get Montgomery going, and I'm sure he's going to be running hard. So, yeah, they got to stop it, and it's going to be a big factor. Key number two to a Bears victory, it's going to be Justin Fields. It's kind of an obvious one, but let's see how he looks. Let's see what kind of progression he will have been able to make in this time away from being under center. I think it's a little absurd, frankly, to have some of the comments like you heard on the Sunday night broadcast from Collinsworth saying things like, Fields needs to learn from this guy. Um, I'm not going to take it that far, but I think that in the time off, I'm hoping that it helped him just mentally, see things in a different light, see the game from the sidelines, get back into, a lot of the film room, that sort of stuff, and really just kind of get his mind, the mental side of things, as healthy as possible while he was recovering physically. I'm interested to see his approach this week. He had a pretty good game against the Lions last year until he threw that costly pick six. But he needs to take care of the ball. He's got to get it out on time. I hope that Getsy continues to sort of call a similar game to what they had in place for Bajent. We got to throw the ball over the middle of the field, though. I don't know why the Bears just don't really do that. It's very frustrating. They just kind of everything's sprayed out to the edges, which is tough for quarterbacks to do. Let them throw the ball over the middle, make some plays up the field that way. Get out in space, some rollouts here and there, get them comfortable, get them on the move if you need to. When you are dropping back, get it out. Don't take the unnecessary hits. You're coming off an injury. If something's not there, you got one, two, three. If you're still holding on to the ball, good for you, but you better get rid of it now. So I think I'm very interested to see how Fields comes out of that little time away from the game. And I'm excited to see what it looks like. I think if he plays well, the Bears are going to have a legitimate shot to, not only compete, but win this game.
Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying, but I also understand why it's a key. Quarterback play from the Bears has got to be good to compete with this 7-2 Lions team. Justin Fields, you're hoping that over the next 7 weeks shows you something, either for the long term to flip him in a trade, whatever it might be. But he's our guy for the next 7 weeks. Let's start with this week. Let's see what he's got. This Detroit defense, while they can't get after the quarterback, they do give up some points too. Let's see. Let's see what ends up happening. I'm optimistic. You're saying, sitting behind Bajent, does that help him mentally? I think it's got to help him with confidence, right? If you're thinking about it like kind of big picture, he has been blue chip guy, top 15 draft pick, uh, Ohio State quarterback, Georgia quarterback, stud guy, Elite 11 MVP, whatever the fuck they call that shit. And you got Tyson Bajent, who's a Division II guy from Shepherd University, going out there and leading the team to a 2-2 record in his 4 games. So maybe Fields is like, I know I got it. I'm the guy. Uh, Maybe there's certain things I can do to just put my team in a little bit better position to win. We'll see. I'm excited for the next 7 weeks, Jack. I'm with you. What's your third key to a Bears victory?
Yeah, and just going off of that last point real quick, like the team has gotten a lot better
Yeah.
um, in his absence, not necessarily because of his
No.
absence. A lot of it has been on the other side of the ball.
Yep.
That defense is just
It's playing better.
drastically different recently than what it has been for about the entire year and a half prior. Yeah, go ahead.
It's getting rid of Alan Williams, and I forget the name of the guy, but they brought in like a defensive consultant. I forget what his name
Yeah,
is, but he's like, I don't know if it's like a remote position or what, but the guy's got to be doing something because I know they haven't played like killer quarterbacks, but the defense looks better. So we'll see. Um,
I want to say his name's like Tony White or something
okay.
like that.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't know
know.
off the top of my head to be honest,
Maybe that's like a porn star or something. But
but
key number
adult films.
key. Yeah, who am I kidding? If it was a porn star, I would know for sure. Key, key number three. I'm gonna slide along to back to the defensive side of the ball. I don't like the Lions. I think they are a house of cards. I think they're a very fraudulent team. I know they're 7-2. I don't think they're that good. I know their record proves that they're good. They're better than I'm willing to give them credit for. So that being said, to beat a good football team at home, to beat a 7-2 football team at home, you're going to need some breaks to sort of go your way. I'm calling for a defensive touchdown.
Wow.
If you get a defensive touchdown, I think I've seen something in the past about how that gives you an 80% chance to win a football game. It's got to happen. Jalen Johnson, looking at you specifically, you've talked a lot about wanting to get paid, and rightfully so. God bless you. I'm never going to knock anyone trying to get their money. But, go out and have yourself a day, make a play. Like you said, you slow down that run, force them into some passing situations, score some points with your offense to kind of keep the pressure on them where they're not able to just kind of be complacent on the offensive side of the ball, make them feel like they need to push it down the field a little bit, and just, force them into a mistake, a bad one, and capitalize. Take it all the way back to the crib. I think you get that sort of big time play um, mixed in with the things we've already discussed. And I know it's a long shot. They opened as 10.5 point dogs for a reason. Um, but I don't know, man. There's a big part of me that really thinks the Bears can win this game. And if they're able to get one of those big highlight defensive touchdown type plays, I think it happens.
I mean, we're asking you for three keys to a Bears victory, and that's what you're giving us. When you're a 10.5 point dog, you need something to happen, and defensive turnover that turns into points off the turnover. Pick six, scoop and score, whatever it might be. Um, I mean, that'll help right there. I like your keys, Jack. Uh, Three keys being the Bears' run defense has to show up and play well. The quarterback Justin Fields has to show up and play a great game as well, efficient game. And lastly, need a defensive touchdown in order to get a win. I like those keys. I think those things happen. I think we got a really real shot at winning the game. Um, how you feeling about score predictions? Do you think the Bears are in this game? Do you think it's like they have a chance to win, but they also have a chance to get blown out? What are your thoughts heading into the weekend?
Yeah, you sort of touched on it lightly at the very, excuse me, at the very start about the line movement. It's interesting how they opened 10.5 and now it's all the way down. I think it went all the way down to like 7.5, but now it might have drifted back towards 8. Um, Either way, that's a lot of movement for
Yeah.
this game. I think it's maybe a little bit of the official confirmation that Justin Fields was going to play, although I feel like a lot of times that's sort of baked into the number earlier on. But that obviously means there's been a decent amount of action going that Bears way, um, which maybe doesn't make me feel great about the Bears. But I don't know, man. There's something about this week. I know literally every week I pick the Bears to win. It's kind of like a shtick at this point. But I truly, it's like the boy who cried wolf. But I really think they can win this game. Like I said, I stand by everything I said about the Lions. I just do not believe in this football team at all. And I think they've given up five straight touchdowns. I don't know. Five straight possessions. They've given a touchdown in that Chargers game last week. That defense cannot be coming home feeling very good about itself. Bears offense is getting their, you know, arguably best player back with Justin Fields coming under center, um, riding the momentum of a win, coming off of a long 10-day, 11-day mini bye. Divisional game. Bears haven't won a divisional game in over 2 years, lost 12 straight divisional games. I mean, that's borderline impossible. You're one of those things is just going to break your way. And I think if you get some of those crazy breaks that we sort of talked about, I don't know, man. I think the Bears could win this game. I like them to win it. Maybe like I don't know. There's going to be some points. I could see the Bears winning this game like 26-21 or something.
Wow. If the Bears beat the Lions on Sunday, I'm absolutely partying. Um, I could see it going anyway, man. I could see it. Like, I don't have a feel on this game. I don't know if it's like Bears are threats to win it. I don't know if it's like Lions are threats for a blowout here. I don't know how to feel. Um, I I do think there's value on the Bears plus 10. I don't know if there's value on the Bears plus 7. Um, I'll just go ahead and predict uh, Lions 28, Bears 20, and like kind of like a not embarrassing game is kind of like my prediction right there. Um, I, I'm rooting for a Bears win. I'd love to see it. Like you said, huge losing streak in the division. Um, Lions seem ripe for the taking here. If you ever got a chance, right now might be it. Justin Fields coming back from injury. Um, I'm excited, man. Any last thoughts?
No, got to go out there and get it done. Um, it's a tall task, certainly, but for whatever reason, I don't know. I don't think it's out of the question this time around. I really think the Bears are in a much better place than they were a year ago this time. I think some things are moving in a positive direction, and this is a game where you could really start to ride that wave and hopefully see some things truly, uh, see those wheels truly begin to churn and change over at Hallis Hall.
Tough 4 game stretch. There is a bye week, I think, in the middle of that 4 game stretch. But tough 4 weeks ahead. It'll be interesting to see what happens. It starts this week at Detroit. Jack, give it to the fans one time.
Mm, Bears.
If you're new here, like and subscribe. Check out the Best Bets video. Go win yourself some money.